part, I guess. Я продолжу по-русски. Для того, чтобы...
Russian. To make a bridge between what Rick said, I'll just add the following. The change of KSK key is one of the elements of the trust chain that Rick talked about. This is a key to assign to the root zones. It's the top zone of the trust zone. Accordingly, we allocate great attention to this project. This is one of the opportunities to increase the level of trust to the whole system. It's the issue of strengthening the security and considering all the questions that were raised. We increased the trust to DNSSEC, and the question was why we need that. And that's why we are trying to tell what will come during the year and two that will come, and we can choose a very interesting topic that we will spend more time. And I will tell what kind of sides the parties in the chain can do, what is necessary, what kind of manipulations are required to do. A little bit about players in the given project. They have been named ICANN as the IANA functions operator and Verisign as the technical manager of root zone. And historically, the functions that we were speaking about were carried out by DNSSEC and root zone management. They were carried out by NTIA. As you know, contract with NTIA ended on Friday, and the plans that were created several years ago remain in force. They will be carried out. Probably we will review the system of management which formerly existed previously in a different configuration of distributing roles. The DNSSEC management, as already was mentioned, consists of two key factors. One is the key signing key, KSK, and ZSK, which is being changed every quarter. With the according representatives, and the upcoming ceremony will be at the end of this month. I'm not going to stop on these. The KSK that we are using now was introduced in 2010, and it signs quarterly like key to ZSK zones. In fact, the functions related to management of keys, ZSK and KSK, are enshrined in the requirements to introduce for the work with DNSSEC, and it is also required as for the root zone operators. And in 2010, as a key generator 2010, they introduced relevant changes in the contract between NTIA and ICANN, and in the partnership agreement between NTIA and Verisign, just to carry out the relevant functions. In the contract with ICANN, one of the points in the agreement was the following: the obligation to change the KSK key either if necessary, if a force majeure happens, or every 5 years. Actually, 5 years have passed, even more, and we are doing that. And why do we do that? Why is it required? In principle, the key doesn't expire. So that is, if it is compromised, then at least we do not know about it. This is also about the issue of crypto hygiene. No, there shouldn't be any single key that will exist always. As I mentioned, there is a need to change the key, and it's in DNS practice statement, and it's comfortable to carry out this kind of procedure under normal conditions. When everything is operating, we do not rush anywhere, and this enables us to document all the received data and to use them in future for successive ceremonies of changing the keys. What is the challenge? It's not like one or two challenges. There are much more. But at a given point, we have two biggest challenges that we are not able to assess the huge scale of if something goes wrong, and we will not be able to inform everybody that are involved in it. And no test environment can help to think of all possible difficulties. Only in practice it can be done. That's why we need to do monitoring throughout this whole cycle, which is quite long, a year and a half or two. Here you see all the relevant documents that have been written just to explain what will happen, when, with what succession, what is being done so that everything goes successively accordingly with the system test plan for the monitoring, what can be done by those who this might refer to. That is just to be secure for this. Probably to test certain parts. And finally, we call it a backout plan. It's not a way out. It's not like stopping the changing the keys. It's rather a plan. It's an emergency plan or contingency plan, which enables us either to stop on the stable moment that is current, or just to make a step back, which was successful for us. I'll describe these documents a little bit so that it's clear what's happening. So I talked about the communication, the operation implementation plan. It's kind of a plan that consists of certain phases. We are not connected to the data, but rather two phases. And rather, the first is the preparation phase, where we prepare the operation environment to change the keys. It's the generation of the key in two data centers. Rick talked about that in the western and eastern shores. Then, creation of the key and its replication. At this point, we do not expect any serious change in that. Complications might arise at the following stages, which are related to the changes in the DNS. Here, publication of the key happens in the root zone, and also the signing and the moment of calling back is from the system, and at later stages, we call it a post-rollover phase. The key is removed from the system, first on the one key management system and on the second. All these plans are available online in a separate page on our site, and the main phases are prescribed. This is the ceremony of signing the key. The nearest one is October 27, and the KSK key will be generated. And the ceremony of the first quarter in 2017, it will be replaced to another key management facility. So the dates are not that fixed. It will be the first quarter, and then comes three important parts which take place in DNS. Dates are given here, but I said that we are not attached to the dates. So we are attached to the functional phases or stages. It's adding a new key to the root zone, its usage for signing and revoking on January 11 of 2018. This vivid picture, of course, probably you can't see it clearly, you do not see what's happening here. In brief, I'll try to explain what's here. It describes the main phases with A, B, C, D, and F. Here is the preparation stage. Here you see is the change of the ZSK key, is KSK or the old one. Then the second slot of the first quarter in 2017. I don't know if you see it or not. This orange uh, line becomes a bit bright line. This is July of next year, and we use the key for signing. And then comes this is the old key. It's revoked. Outside this scheme, there are two more phases of GH, two phases which are related to the key revoking. What is, you might ask, what these green boxes mean? They mean the four key parts. When the change in DNS happens, at this point, the monitoring will be strengthened and will check all the social media and functional channels just to understand what is happening where and where actual failures happen. Failures might happen, first of all, the most complicated part is here, in this part, when the volume of DNS responses happen. So, system test plan, as I said, there is test environment and the main stages of key change are elaborated, and this is related to trust anchors configuration. But someone might tell me, do you use like key? I heard various options of translating these items. So we'll be monitoring what is happening here. First we'll use ICANN root server. So we'll use it to get more information. What are we looking for? What will be the indicator of some complications? It's fragmentation of packages, which will show a huge amount of DNS responses and increased DNS key queries, which will also refer to certain misconfigurations. We'll enable doing certain fixations. I said the main activities and probably activities on improving certain. So failures later will help us to use this experience in future experiences of changing the key. There is opportunity to change the key change in external way. There are certain ways that the programmers can use, which enables. They create an accelerated environment for automatic key change in relation to RFC 5011. You see these kind of tools on the screen, and by the end of the year, ICANN plans to prepare a special instrument which will enable the network operators in real time to operate automatic key change by RFC 5011. And there they can look at how the key is being changed, whether trust ankles are correctly input and are entered, and accordingly, if everything goes according to the plan, then before the zone signing, we will have a whole month so that in real time we try it, see what is wrong, to make some setups and to try it again. And the backout plan, that's a contingency plan. It's described in a separate document, as I said. It is a plan, just if necessary to stay on the current phase, if necessary, just to make a step back to the previous stage, which was quite successful. It's possible up to revoking of the previous key from 2010. And on the signing ceremony, sufficient amount of resource DNS keys are created so that they are used in such critical situations, so that they do not have an additional ceremony for signing the keys. What do we need to know? What do we need to pay attention on correct using of software, and we correctly set up trust anchors, to pay attention to the actual changing of the key. That is, we need to watch the key changes in DNS, or the core changes in DNS. As it was already said, if the protocol is correctly set up by RFC 5011, then the change of the key will happen automatic, and theoretically no failure should happen. But if this protocol is not being used, then it's necessary to introduce certain changes manually. The key itself and the trust anchor can be downloaded in a file from the IAT website, and manually the old key can be removed. Once again, the dates for your attention, and all this has open access. And if you have any questions, if you see any complications, thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions to Alexandra? Let me first ask you, Richard, do you want to add something to what has been said?
That's a wonderful job, and particularly having the links to some of those plans I find very useful, so that people can follow this. You mentioned there was a key ceremony later this month. Will that be when a key is generated? Next question.
Yes, correct. That's when it's going to be generated, and then replicated in the first quarter next year.
Exciting times, at least for me. Anyone in here going to that ceremony? They are public.
Yeah. I think also there will be webcast or something like, so everyone would be able to see how these procedures are going. Well, you should plan a lot of time, I think about 5, maybe 6 hours, yes? And also there is available transcript, so you can see what people should, what participants of ceremony should do now, how do they do, and see that, okay, the procedure is running well. So?
Well, about key ceremony, there's also, if you don't want to spend 6 hours watching grass grow, because really not that exciting, there is actually a 7-minute documentary done by The Guardian. You can find it on YouTube, which gives you an overview about how such a key ceremony goes. It's pretty well done compared to other stories. So that's another thing I want to point out is the trust anchor. What actually makes 5011 different from all the other DNS operations is that the configuration is actually changed without human intervention. And as you know, things like the hints files or other files, you all have to do by hand. If the hints file changes, you have to do it by hand. 5011 allows you to do this fully automated. And that's why you probably should check whether or not you have your trust anchor on a read-only file system, because then it will fail bitterly. So you really, that's why you should keep track of what's happening there. And about the software testing, the most popular DNS software now have been really tested. So the idea is that it will work unless you have something completely strange. But be aware of that this is a real different way of doing DNSSEC configuration than normal. And of course, you can always get a trust anchor by hand. You don't really have to rely on this. But there are a couple of ways how to get a trust anchor. And we as a DNSSEC vendor, or DNS vendor, We actually have in a tamper-free envelope signed by, I think, Rick Backstrom, the copy of the KSK as it is. So we can actually prove, look, this is what we use and ship with our software on the moment. And we will probably want to get a new one next time the new key is around.
If I can add just one thing, I think I forgot to say this, and I really want to point this out, that this plan was worked out with a joint effort. The design team comprised community members, and Jaap, that's why I'm looking at Jaap, who is part of that small but really strong group, and a group made up of ICANN employees and IETF, Verizon and IETF, obviously, people, and Rick including. So this is a really joint effort, and please take advantage to talk to these people while they're here. Thank you.
If you really want to know, you can find a complete design team report on the ICANN site with all the people who worked on it.
Okay, thank you very much.